You know what time it is? It's time to hang out with Mr. Coop. With Mr. Cooper, with Mr. Cooper, with Mr. Cooper. Get the latest scoop from Mr. Cooper, from Mr. Cooper, from Mr. Cooper. Hang with Mr. Coop, with Mr. Cooper, with Mr. Cooper, with Mr. Cooper. Get the latest scoop from Mr. Cooper, from Mr. Cooper. Yeah.
Welcome to the Bit Scoop with Coop. I'm your host, Coop. Big shout outs to everybody that's listening right now on Apple Podcasts or iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, Stitcher, or wherever you're listening to. Also, don't forget, if you want to see the video recording of this show, make sure you go to thebitscoopwithcoop.com where you can catch episodes from season 1 all the way now. Also, you can catch me on Facebook, facebook.com/thebitscoopwithcoop. Also on Instagram, IGTV, baby. You can catch me there at Big Scoop with Coop and on YouTube at The Big Scoop with Coop. You've seen Karyn on things from Major Payne. You've seen her in the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air as Hilary Banks. And she's done numerous other things in television and the movie industry. Now, we're about to kick back and we will actually talk to Karyn. We're going to see how she started her career, what she have going on right now. We're going to talk about a little bit of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and the reunion show. So, kick back, relax, and oh yes, this is the season 8 finale show. Last episode of season 8, right here. So we ended it with the bang, Miss Karyn Parsons. Let's catch up with her now. And like I promised you today, we do have a special guest for the season finale show of season 8. We have the one and only Miss Karyn Parsons. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Yes. How's your day going so far?
It's going well. It's going pretty good. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I'm in North Carolina, so the weather is kind of cold right now. So we're actually getting the cold side.
Yeah.
It's probably like in the 40s, early 50s. Not even the 50s. I'm lying now. Probably in the 40s right now.
Yeah, that's what we have in New York right now. We have the early 40s. It's cold.
Wow.
It is just going to get colder.
Of course. You already see it coming. Now, Karyn, like I said, a lot of people know who you are. You've done big things in your career. The cool thing is your career is nowhere close to being over. Of course, you had the legendary run on the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. You've done Major Payne. You've done a lot of things. You had a reunion. We're going to talk about that later on in the show also. But Karyn, a lot of people don't know how it all started for you. What made you, when did you first realize that you wanted to become an actress?
Oh, I was that little kid who was saying, I'm going to be an actress. I'm going to be an actress, from probably the time I was like 6. Ridiculous, but my mom thought that I would stop eventually, but I didn't. I just kept on with that, and then I started discovering when I got a little older, I discovered I was classes and then workshops and then an adult workshop, so that you had adults reading Uta Hagen and Stanislavski, and all of a sudden we were doing improvisation, and it was a lot more serious. It wasn't just little kids doing little plays, and I loved it. I was really hooked at that point, and so I was really serious about it. And I was a teenager then, and it just kept going. And then I ended up getting representation and I was still working in workshops a lot, but then I ended up going out on jobs and started getting some work. And in a relatively short time, I landed the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Wow. Now, Karyn, I tell anybody, when you have an itch or you have that urge at a young age, there's something that's telling you at an early age, hey, this is for you.
Yeah.
And I see that you actually ran with this. Now, we did hear about how you went through a lot of things, starting off from the age of 6, did a lot of acting, young age coming all the way up. But what type of hurdles did you go through to get to where you are today in your career?
Well, acting is, I had a pretty thick skin when it comes to that. You audition a lot and you don't get almost anything you go out on. I saw not that long ago, I came across my daily planner for the year that I did Fresh Prince, and I was looking at it and marveling at how I, because I didn't have kids then or anything. So I was marveling at how I was doing so many auditions, like every day, running across town, then feeding somebody's cat, then running to work, and then going to another audition. And then, it was just crazy how much I was doing. But, you'd go and you'd audition and then you just leave it and you go to the next thing and you leave it and you go to the next thing. You don't, you can't sit there and dwell on it too hard or think, because if you weren't right for the part, you weren't right for the part. Now move on. And then I would still go to my workshops and try to get better and work on that. And that was more the thing. I loved acting, so it was about the joy of the thing. It wasn't just about attaining this, like, I need to get a job. I have to get a job in this. And thank goodness, because it would have been really difficult if that's how I was approaching it. So for me, a lot of those rejections, there are definitely plenty of rejections that hurt a lot, because you invest, you work on things, and if you get a call back and then another call back, and then it starts to feel real, and you're like, oh my God, this is going to happen. This is so good. And you feel the project, you can see the whole thing, and you can see yourself doing it, and then you don't get it. It hurts. It hurts, but you have to get up and move on and, motor through and go on to the next thing and try not to take it personally, because it rarely has very much to do with you. It's just about them trying to put their whole picture together, and exactly the right thing. And you never know what all the components are. So, but I was lucky. I was very supported. My mom, like I said, she was laughing, thinking I was gonna get over this acting thing. But all the while, like, I can see it as a parent. I can really appreciate it. She was taking me to these acting workshops. She was paying for these acting workshops. And I look at then, as a kid, you're so kind of taking things for granted. I was appreciative, but not as appreciative as I could have been. I can see it better now as a parent. Like, she was forking over for that, and she was stopping everything in her schedule to make sure I got there, and this was a thing she thought was just something I loved. She wasn't like a showbiz mom who was going, okay, good, she's going to get into the business of this. She didn't think anything was going to happen for me. And she thought I loved it so much, and she wanted to support that, and then figured I'd move on to something else. And that's huge, to have somebody that thinks, you love this, you keep going, you learn, expand, and get better and do your thing, and then of course, once I did start working, she was supportive in a different way, because now it was like, oh, she's building a career. And so that was her thing, was wanting to support that. So I was very fortunate to have that type of support. Not everybody gets that. But the little knocks that you get along the way, I didn't take anything that seriously, I guess. Nothing knocked me off point, that's for sure. I knew what I wanted to do. I was, now mind you, this is like childbirth. Like, if I had been in the hall a lot longer and hadn't got a big gig, then maybe I would have a different attitude about it. It's like, the whole natural childbirth thing. Like, I'm going to try to do natural childbirth, but that's one thing if it's only 3 hours of labor. But if it's like, 18 hours of labor, you might ask for a little help and not have that natural thing happen. So I was fortunate. I was in it for a little while, but I was getting little bites here and there, and then got a big bite when I got Fresh Prince. Like I said, relatively early on in auditioning.
That's so true. Now, Karyn, I want you to stop me if I'm lying about this. Now, in the business, 100 no's can equal one yes. And a lot of people that's actually starting off in this industry that's trying to get a break, like how you received, they don't have the thick skin. A lot of them don't. I'm not saying everybody. After they hear 1 or 2 no's or 3 no's, they're like, okay, this is not meant for me. And I feel that the people that's watching worldwide right now, they need that inspiration to know, hey, you're not going to just, people think that they can just move to Hollywood, move to LA, move to New York, and they're going to automatically say, I'm an actress, and they're going to just walk on stage on this big time set. Karyn, will you please tell the people, is that true? Is that how this actually works?
That wouldn't make a lot of sense, would it? I mean, think about how many people want to do it. No, number one, You got to be doing it for the right reasons. You know, if you love it, if your heart is really pushing you to do it, then do it. But if it's anything short of that, if it's because you want to be famous, I hear this thing about, I always want to be famous. It's like, what does that mean? What is that? You can do all kinds of crazy stuff to get famous if you really want, you know.
Especially in this
But
time, this
yeah,
generation.
exactly. So fame is a separate subject. If you're interested in acting and trying to, you know, get work as an actor, have a career as an actor or something like that, um, I would hope that first and foremost you love it. It's something you love, something you want to grow in, something you want to get better at, and that you won't stop, and that you'll do what you can to get better, which means getting involved in workshops, whether it's improv or scene study, whatever it is. Get in there, learn the craft, work with other actors, collaborate, play around, you know, find, just learn, study people, go outside, go places, and take notes, watch people, and try to bring that into your work.
Mm,
But do it because you love it and keep doing it, and it's so fun, and it keeps giving you things back, and there's always so much to discover. Meanwhile, if you are fortunate enough and you get representation, you have, great, I'm going out on a call, you do that, and then you go back and you still do your work and you have your fun doing your scenes in class with people. Maybe you do a play, you get into a situation where you're able to take on a little play someplace, but it keeps your acting chops moving, and you're learning more about yourself and about the craft of acting. And then you have another audition and you go, and by the time, the thing is, if you work on your stuff, you want to get in that room and you want to blow them away. You want to be
mhm.
great, so that it's, the problem is that you just maybe weren't right for the part, but that you hit everything. You did all you could on your part. You know, you were as prepared as you could be. You had worked on your stuff as well as
Right.
possible. If they gave you direction in the room, you were able to take it. Um, so I think that that's all really important. It's just about making sure this is the thing that you love, not just for some trivial, fleeting thing like fame.
So true. So true. Now, Karen, before the days of Hilary Banks, did you have any mentors to help you out to get to Fresh Prince stage?
I can't really say that I did, except for my mother, of course, who was, like
Hmm.
I said, she was a huge supporter of me. And that, in that regard, but in terms of like somebody who I looked to try to emulate or be like or anything like that, while I was first, when I was doing it, no, I have to be honest. And I really believe very strongly in finding mentors. I think partially because I recognize the value in that, as even as somebody who didn't have it, but I know people who did. I think there's so much value in that. And I do also believe that you don't have to even pick a mentor necessarily at someone that you know, um, or is even alive. I think you can pick mentors from, there are people who I get inspired, who by history, there are people who did great things
Wow.
who I look at and I'm so in awe of what they were able to do under the circumstances that they were faced with. And I
Hmm.
look to them sometimes and I feel like, wow, she could, like Bessie Coleman, the aviator, the first black female aviator. I did a, for my organization, Sweet Blackberry, we did a story of her. We did her book, which is coming out December 1st.
Wow.
But we also did a small film, and I have her picture in my office because, and she's got this smile and she's so courageous. And we're talking about, you know, back in 1920, getting
Hmm.
an international pilot's license, a black woman getting an international pilot's license because they wouldn't give her one in the States. So she had to go to France to get it. You know, I'm so impressed with her. And she's one of those people, and there are other people who you can find for mentors, I think, who you can look to and for guidance. Like, what would Bessie do? What would Bessie think when you're mulling something over? If I look at her picture, I get an answer, and it awakens a strength in me that I may not have given myself credit for. But when I look at her, I can see that strength in me.
Wow. Wow. See, ladies and gentlemen that's watching worldwide right now, I hope you're taking notes what Karen is saying because if you find something that's going to give you that inner strength, it'll
Yeah.
come out in you, and you can actually do things that you think you can't do.
Correct.
And that's especially, even if it's not the movie and television industry. If you're working in a corporation 9 to 5 or whatever you're doing hair, it doesn't matter. Find the inspiration, and trust me, you will
Right.
see your potential come out. You definitely will.
Absolutely.
Now, yes, now Karyn, you, like I told you before, you are an amazing woman. You've done a lot. Now, at a young age, you received this role as Hilary Banks
Yeah.
at Fresh
Excuse
Prince of
me.
Bel-Air. No problem. Now, how excited were you when you found out, yes, you received this role?
Oh,
What went through your mind?
I was over the moon. Are you kidding me? I was working at a restaurant. I was hostessing at a restaurant, and I came onto my shift. It's early. There's like hardly anybody there. And I checked my messages, and I had a message from my agent, and so I called them back, and they told me I got the job. And I just about lost my mind. But I just got on my shift, so I was like, oh, I was freaking out and telling my manager, I'm like, oh, I got this job. I was so excited, and it was a pilot. It wasn't a full-on show yet. It
Right.
was even called a presentation. It was even called a pilot. It was like a presentation, whatever that meant. And so he's like, laughing at me that I was so excited and happy for me, and then back to work. And so I'm sitting there, at work, kind of like, trying to keep it together. And a friend of mine walked in just by chance. She just was nearby, and she came in just to say hi. And of course, I went bananas, and I'm jumping all over her and telling her everything. And she's jumping up and down. And the two of us are just like, we're going crazy. And my boss said, get out of here. It made me leave. And so I got to go and celebrate. But it was just mind blowing. It was so exciting to get that and then have the experience. And I just liked the people so much. And we clicked right away. And then I went back to work when it was over. Went
Mm.
back to my job because I didn't know what was going to happen with that show. And they would make fun.
Wow.
They'd come by and make fun of me. Will and some other people would come by and point through the window and laugh at me. They're like, "What are you doing here? Why are you still working here?" I was like, "I don't know what's going to happen with that show."
Oh my gosh.
And then we
And
got
see,
picked up.
that's what I was gonna ask you though, right there. I'm glad you mentioned that part. Because if I'm not mistaken, season one was 1990. Am I
Yes,
correct?
yes.
Okay. Now, when you went in for the presentation, in your mind, did you ever think that this show was gonna be as iconic as
Oh,
it is?
I didn't think it in the 6 years that we shot it. I didn't think that. Not once.
Wow.
No, not once. I mean, while we were shooting it, mind you, we were not the big the show I believe is more successful today than it's ever been. We were not the big success that we think of the show, uh we think of it now. There were shows like Friends that came along while we were doing our show, and that became the big like breakthrough, like, wow, this is a big show, everybody's watching this show, it's huge. Cosby was right before us.
Hmm.
So but we never hit Cosby status or Friends status in the lineups. Like I would at the supermarket, I would get TV Guide, going through the checking my stuff out, and I would always check the TV Guide and look and see where if we were in the ranking for in the
Hmm.
top 10, and we never cracked the top 10. So I was, I and people weren't bumping up to me on the street and going, "Oh my God, that didn't happen." It wasn't until the show went into syndication, which is about 3 years in,
Mm.
that I started to notice a little bit of something. And then after 6 years, when we went off the air, is when I really started to feel like, oh my God, people know the show, they're recognizing me. Um, and still, it wasn't until recent couple years or so that it's felt like the show was a big deal. And
And
that's
it
a
really
long time
was.
after.
That's so true. But Karen, you know what? And I understand in 1990, you wasn't thinking about that, thinking that the show was gonna get as iconic.
No.
Um, and the thing is, I'm gonna tell on my age. So in 1990, I was 10 years old. I still remember in North Carolina, NBC was Channel 7. And when I heard about the show at school and people was talking about it, I was like, oh my gosh, gotta watch it, gotta watch it, gotta watch it. Then we saw the intro come on. You seeing Will acting the fool during the intro of the song and everything. That's still an iconic song to this day with Fresh Prince.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, it's crazy. Big shout outs to Will if you're watching right now. Big shout outs to you. But Karyn, you played that part of Hilary Banks like it was natural. As a young kid, everybody thought that was your personality. That's who you were.
I know.
Now, how hard was it to become Hilary Banks?
Well, that wasn't hard. That was fun. I liked it. The wardrobe woman, Judy Richmond, our costumer, she used to laugh and say that Hillary came out when my shoes got on. Like once I put the clothes on, she said that's when Hillary came. 'Cause she would watch me change and transform in front of her. And she was probably right. I loved playing Hillary. I was brought up to be a good girl, and don't say anything. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all, and all this, which is the opposite of Hillary.
Yes.
Yes. And so it was fun to be able to be this little rude little girl who said what was ever on her mind. She wouldn't mean to be rude. She wasn't. She was just direct and had no time for anything. She was great. She was a lot of fun. So I didn't have any problem with that. It was, sure, people definitely thought that's who I was, and that could get in the way in terms of roles. I've had a few doors that would not open for me, that they would not see me because they said, "Oh no, we know what she does," and my representation was like, "No, no, no, wait, you got to see her because she's not the character." And they were like, "No, no, no, that's okay. We know what she does," and they just wouldn't see me, and it was so it's a backhanded compliment because on one hand you're like, well, they think I'm good, kind of, because they think that's really me. So, but they don't. But they also won't see me because they think that that's really me.
Now, Karyn, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm gonna tell you when Hillary started standing out for me. It was that episode when everybody was sitting around the TV, and I think you know where I'm going with this.
Yes, I do.
You're about to get married. Will you marry me?
Yeah, I know it well.
And everybody looked at you, and you had this nonchalant look, like, okay, are you gonna say anything else? How you was looking, I said, okay, she got this role for good. Karyn is not losing Hilary Banks ever. I mean, ever. That one right there is what got me. Everybody has a certain scene that pops off, but early season starting then on out, I think you caught a lot of people's attention. You really did.
Well, thank you. That was fun. That scene, I have to say, I remember because I've seen it quite a bit recently, and every time I see it, I laugh to myself because I remember when he hit, the audience laughed for so long. They laughed for such a long. It was one of the longest where they just laughed. Now, mind you, we all have to keep acting while holding for the audience's laugh before we get to the next line. So everybody else is reacting to, "Oh my God, this is awful." I had to hold that reaction of, "What happened?"
How did you do that, though?
I had to hold that reaction for such a long time while the audience is in hysterics. It was fun to live in her crazy brain. So I just lived there a little longer. But it was a strange. I remember that moment. There were moments where you have to hold for the audience, and you have to stay in character, even though you're kind of suspended in air.
I want to give you a clap for that one. I've been wanting to do that for over 20 years. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Yes. Now, Karyn, what was the environment like when the cameras was off on the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? Was everybody as tight as it showed like on air?
Absolutely. It was incredible. You have to see the reunion. You have to watch the reunion
I'm ready
show.
for that. I'm so ready.
It dropped last night. I watched it, and it was amazing. I'm not gonna say anything. I'm not gonna give anything away. But it was like I said before, we clicked right away. The first week, we just fell in with each other, and we liked each other, but we also really liked working with each other. It's like when you're playing with someone and you're tossing it and they're tossing it right back, and it's this great game, and it feels great. It makes you feel good. It makes you do better work, and so it was really enjoyable. And then when we weren't, there was a lot of downtime when we weren't working on when we weren't being filmed or we weren't on running through stuff, and we had heavy talks,
Mhm.
crazy laughs. All of our dressing room doors were wide open, and you just wander in and out of everyone's room and hang out with people. And there was no place else I would have wanted to be. We're talking about 6 years, and every
Yeah.
day I was very happy to go to work. I never had a time where I was like, oh, I want to go home. I don't want to be around these people. Never felt like, I mean, I can't even imagine. We were so fortunate. I never had that feeling. I wanted to go hang out with James. I wanted to go, hang out with Tatiana or Alfonso. Alfonso
Mhm.
bought a house. We went through this period where everybody was like, okay, now it's the time we're all going to buy houses because the show had been on, and it was like that change in our lives. It was that time. And I remember James Avery was looking at a place, and Alfonso was looking at a place. And I kind of followed Alf. I was like, where are you buying your house? And found out where he bought it when I bought one down the street.
Nice, nice.
Yeah, we were close.
That's what I'm talking about. Now, I had Daphne Reed on the show. Big
Yes.
shout out to you, Miss Daphne. She was telling me about this hot. I might be wrong, but no, I think she said you did have it. This hot pink couch that was on set.
It was hot pink walls. I had a black velvet couch.
Couch. That's what it was.
But I had hot pink walls. Yeah, Will had done up his room, and we came back one year, and he had his room. He had two rooms actually made into one, and he had a designer come in there. And because if you go to studios, the
Mhm.
rooms are all very generic, and people come in and out for different productions, and they're like just really flat, ugly, like gray floor, and just very like just a little cubicle practically.
Oh
and
wow.
and he had a designer come in and just do his place up, and we were all like, wow, it's so beautiful, wow, this is so. And he just said, you know what, I want to give this gift to all of you. And so he basically turned the designer over to all of us and said, tell him what you want and do your rooms up. And
Wow.
so I did something that I would never do at home, that I thought I would like to have as my room. So I had my walls were hot pink, and I had a beautiful red velvet couch, and I had these Louis the 14th little armchairs, and
Wow.
we stripped them and reupholstered them in black patent leather. They were cool. They were really cool. And I had like a black bongo drum was my little end table. And I had like a huge James Bond poster on a wall, and it was just really awesome. It
That's
was really
crazy.
my room was slamming. I wish I had photographs of it. It was so cool. And like,
Oh man.
yeah, everybody's room was just done up. It was really fun.
You might want to get in contact with Will to see if he have any of those photographs.
Yeah, I
So
should.
you can actually, yeah, to see. Now, talking about Will and everything, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air reunion, HBO Max.
Yes.
Now, you guys had a ball. I've heard about it. I've really heard about it. Now, I did hear that Will had to fly you all. Well, I guess some flew in, some got
Yeah.
in, however they did, and you all was completely separated.
Yes.
And yeah, so I've heard the behind the scenes of what happened, far as goes for trying to hide all of you. But as Ms. Reed said, you guys stay in contact with each other so much. You guys still talking on the phone.
Yeah.
And yeah,
You
so
can't keep us from doing that.
that's true. That's true. Now, how was that feeling when you guys first walked back on set for the reunion?
I was really, I remember thinking, we've seen each other. We've seen each other. We don't get together, all of us together so much. Not like I would like to, but like,
Hmm.
weddings and funerals. And there are situations where we all get together. But then, Daphne and I we'll do Comic Cons and see each other, and I see Tatiana, same thing, or visit her, or if Alf comes to New York, or if I go to LA, I see Alfonso. Will, I don't get to see as much because he tends to be really busy, but Joe Marcel, when he comes to the States, we try to make a point of seeing each other, seeing people. So I'm like, they're trying to keep us away to have this big moment. I was kind of thinking maybe it wouldn't be this huge moment, but not only was it all of us coming together, we were all coming together on the set. They had the set
Yes.
of the show. I mean, just for me to walk on the set would have been a big deal, would have been kind of mind-blowing and very surreal, but to be doing it with them, and we had our hair done, we had makeup and hair and wardrobe kind of thing, we were like done up like the way you would prepare for a show, and then we all came on to this set together, our set, our home.
Yes.
And which I haven't seen in person and haven't stepped on in decades. So that was really kind of mind-blowing, and it just felt it felt good. I don't want to say it felt as much that it felt weird. It felt kind of good. Strange but good. And also on top of it, it was the set. There were cameras on us again, so it was very similar. And Tatiana pointed out something which was really interesting too, which is we did the whole getting together, but then they needed us to back up and enter a second time. Something happened and they wanted us to walk back and walk on again. So since we had already done it, and now we were having to do it again, we were acting.
Huh.
And I remember she said when we came on and we all pretended we were coming back on, and I don't know which takes they used or what, but the point is that we walked on and we were acting, and I hugged Tatiana and she said, "We're acting together again. We got to act together again." And I was like, "Oh my God, that's right," because we're pretending, right? That we haven't, that this is our first walk. Anyway, I was surprised that it affected me like it did, but it did. Seeing everybody together on the set.
That's crazy. That is crazy. Big shout outs to the whole cast. When you talk to them again, tell everybody I said what's up. Make sure you do that. Man, big shout outs to everybody that's watching worldwide. Make sure you go HBO Max. Check out the reunion show. Will has dropped the trailer also. It's on YouTube. It's on his Instagram page. It's all over. I think Karyn has dropped something also on Instagram, if I'm not mistaken. Make sure you go follow her on Instagram. We'll get into that in 1 second. But here's a question I want to know personally myself. Yeah. Is it harder to become Hilary Banks, or your role in Major Pain?
Emily Wahlberg.
Yes, Emily did it. I mean, which one is more of you? Are you more of a Hilary or more of an Emily in real life?
In real life, I'm more of an Emily. I'm definitely more of an Emily Wahlberg than Hilary. Yeah, Hilary, that's my girl, but that's not me. And Emily, Emily's very. I liked Emily. Emily was, she's a little straight, but she was cool. She cared about the kids. She was incredibly tolerant of this strange guy. Fell for this crazy guy. But yeah, I definitely more Emily.
Man, and everybody, if you have not seen this movie and you've been living under a rock, make sure you go watch Major Pain. That's one of my favorite movies. Make sure you go watch it. Yes, you're going to see a screen. You will see a scene in Major Pain, if you have not watched it, where Mr. Wayne is up there telling a story, and you see Miss Karyn walk around the corner listening to the story, and you will hear this high-pitched scream that comes out of Karyn. You never know she could do. And she killed it. And also, if you think Karyn can dance or you think she can't dance, watch Major Pain. Watch Major Pain. You're gonna see her break it down. You got to make sure you watch it.
That scene kills me. Every time I see that, just like smiling.
You killed it. You definitely killed it. Now, Karyn, how can everybody follow you on social media?
I'm pretty easy to find. Karyn Parsons, Karyn. I think on my Facebook it's just Karyn Parsons. On Instagram, I think it's at Karyn Parsons. It's Karyn with a Y, and then I think Twitter it's like Karyn underscore Parsons. And there's also my organization, Sweet Blackberry, that you can also
Hmm.
follow on all of those platforms as well. Sweet Blackberry, Sweet Blackberry, and on Twitter it's SWT Blackberry. But if you put Sweet Blackberry, it'll come up.
And that's what I want to ask about you now. Sweet Blackberry, what is this about, and how did you actually get involved in it?
Sweet Blackberry is it's a nonprofit organization, and our mission is to bring little-known stories of African American achievement to kids. My mother was a librarian my whole growing up, but when I was an adult, she headed the Black Resource Center at her library, and she would come across stories that she found really fascinating and tell me about them. And she told me the story. This was the story that was the impetus for the whole for Sweet Blackberry. Was she told me the story of Henry Box Brown, an enslaved man who nailed himself to freedom in a box, who had a box built, climbed in, had them, nail it shut, apply postage, and send him from Virginia to Pennsylvania. And he went. It was a 27-hour journey. He was in there with a little sack of water, and he 27 hours by wagon, boat, train, and he arrived and they opened the box and he was across state lines and he had survived, and he was a free man. And this is a true story. And he traveled the world telling his story afterward. And then when my mom told me, I was like, I never heard it, and she had never heard it, and everyone I told said I never heard that. And I thought, well, that's ridiculous. How do we not know this incredible story? And what a great story for kids, because it teaches them, not only is it a great story that you don't want lost, but it teaches them about determination and perseverance and ingenuity. And
Hmm.
it shows people like what you're really capable of doing, and I think that that's an important lesson for children. And that became like that story inspired me to not just bring that story, but then more stories, because I started discovering more and more stories about real people from Black history that I had never heard of.
Hmm.
And let me get these stories out. And I think as kids are introduced to these stories early, um, they're inspiring and empowering, but I also think that it changes the landscape of race for them as they enter the world, because they recognize what they're capable of, and all these people that made all these contributions to the world we live in and things we take for granted, that they realize, oh, a Black person made that and did that, and all these things I'm capable of, or oh, what my neighbor is capable of, as opposed to if you never see that, if you don't see that, what messages are you receiving? What are they telling you about who you are and what you come from and what you are capable or not capable of? And
That's
and
crazy.
kids receive these messages and these signals very early. And I
Hmm.
think it's important what we show them and what we expose them to at a young age. And it makes all the difference for all children
That's
about
what I'm talking about.
how they come into the world. So that's what I wanted to do with Sweet Blackberries. I wanted to bring these. So we've made 4 films, short animated films. They're like picture books come to life, with
Okay.
a single narrator. They're like lightly animated. We have had Chris Rock, Alfred Woodard, Queen Latifah, and Lawrence Fishburne all have narrated these stories about incredible people in Black history that you just don't hear about. And now,
Wow.
December 1st, our first book, Flying Free: How Bessie Coleman's Dreams Took Flight, comes out. And I'm really proud of it. I'm very excited for it.
So, Karen, how can everybody get this book?
You can visit, well, you can get it probably through many booksellers, definitely Amazon, but I would, hopefully you can look at other booksellers. But at Amazon, you can get it through our website, sweetblackberry.org. We also
Hmm.
have it. We also have opportunities there if people are interested in contributing to the organization, because we are a nonprofit organization, whether it's volunteering, spreading the word, or monetarily. However, we depend on that help from people to keep us going. So I have to throw that out there. but also, yeah, if you want to pick up the book, it's a beautiful book. R. Gregory Christie illustrated it. He's a multi award winning Coretta Scott King award winning illustrator,
Yes.
children's books. Beautiful, beautiful work. And this book is so gorgeous. I'm really, really excited. I wrote it, and it's lovely, and I hope people will check it out.
Everybody, make sure you do go to sweetblackberry.org. You want to make sure you donate because you want more of these to come out. Make sure you do it. Support Karyn, support Sweet Blackberry. This is something that you want for your kids to learn about true history in a fun way. Make sure you go get the book December the 1st. Now, Karyn, what advice would you give any male or female that wants to become an actress, an actor, that wants to get into this industry? What would you tell them right now?
Oh, I say the most important thing is to work on it, is to find a way, whether it's a class or a workshop or other people that you can work with, and just do it. Do it as much as you can. If you can get involved in student films, get involved in student films, but learn and just get better at it. I think, like I said before, you want to do what brings you joy, and if it really does bring you joy, follow that, do that, and get better at it. Don't worry so much about getting a job, and that'll come. And then you can go through whatever you need to get representation. Make sure that nobody asks you for money. It's only
Mm,
a percentage of the work that they get you. Don't ever pay anybody to get you work.
yes.
I have to say that because I hear that so much. I can't believe how many, crooks are out there.
Scam artists,
Yeah.
scams.
Yeah. So,
Yes.
but then just in the meantime, what's most important is work on your craft, get good, start, study people, study behavior, expose yourself to lots of different things. That's another thing that I had an acting coach tell me when I was much younger, and it was hard for me to get it through my head and understand it at the time, which is if you want to act, do all kinds of things because you're an actor, right? So you should be
Yes.
doing different things. You should be cooking and playing an instrument or horseback riding or, visiting different, doing sports. Just round your life, expose yourself to lots of things, witness things, pay attention to them. When you're called upon to play a part, there'll be this rich person with all of these different things living in them that will be able to come forward, and you'll be able to, bring these characters to life.
Wow. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen worldwide, I hope you're taking advice off of this. Karyn has done a lot. Like I said, I hope you're getting all these jewels and you're writing them down. Now, Karyn, last segment of the show. It's
Yes.
called Take the Floor.
So,
Now, you have up to 2 minutes to say whatever you want, whatever's on your mind. Karyn Parsons, take the floor.
hmm. Well, I would say we are in the middle of a very unusual time right now, and I know that in the beginning of it, while we were very uncertain, and it was kind of devastating, there was a part of me that felt like I'm okay. The hermit in me was like, I'm okay with this. It's a time of introspection, and I did, and I feel like a lot of people I witnessed a lot of people go that route and start to look inside, look to themselves. I think that there's so much for us to pay attention to during this strange time. Take the opportunity, since we have to isolate a little bit more than we're used to, take the time to listen to yourself. If you don't journal, maybe start journaling and pay attention to yourself, what you like, what inspires you, not just staring at the phone or the computer and other people, but be quiet with yourself and do some of that introspection. The people that you love and are close to and can still be close to physically, cherish your time with them and go deeper. Do things maybe you wouldn't do normally together and have a richer experience. And I think when we come out of it, I also think even before we come out of it, something that I've been trying to do more and more is spend time however I can with people that I miss and I love and I want to see. So virtually, we see each other. And I know that when the time comes, I am going to hug every single person I come in contact with. But I think there's a lot that we we take for granted. A lot of freedoms we take for granted. I think we've learned that of late as well. And so hopefully we will all we can meditate on some of these things. We can look to ourselves and what really makes us happy, and maybe some of those things that we've neglected. Same with other relationships, and as well as our freedoms. I think we need to really look at things and take care of them, take care of ourselves, take care of these things, take care of these people in our lives. And this time, I think, allows us to be a little bit more still, a little bit more quiet, more contemplative, and we should take advantage of that while we have it.
Wow. Wow. Great advice. Great advice. Great advice. Ladies and gentlemen, Karyn Parsons. Once again, follow her on social media. Watch out. If you see her in the street, she might hug you. When this is all over. Yep. You will feel honored by that. So make sure you do it. Now, Karyn, thank you so much for coming on the show. And I'd love to have you back on in the future.
Thank you very much. This was really, really nice. I appreciate it. Appreciate you having me.
Thank you. Thank you. So season finale right here, season 8. Season 9 is coming soon. Who's going to be the first guest? You know, I never announced my first guest. So you make sure you stay tuned. Go check her out on Instagram. Check her out Twitter. Check her out everywhere. Watch the reunion show, HBO Max. Watch it. Yes. Sweetblackberry.org. Go get the book December the 1st. Donate, donate, donate. Until next time, everybody, on the Big Scoop with Coop.